So the first step, we are going to remove all the CSR components, and I'll point them out as I do them. Step one is the output bin. That's just here. It just clips on, comes off. It's customer replaceable. I imagine since customers can remove it, some of them will break it. I'll now remove the main paper tray. Slides out. There's a simple latch at the back. You just push that down, and out the paper tray comes. I will now demonstrate and remove the output flap. Now, to replace the print bar, or in fact just about anything, you don't have to remove the output flap, but I'm doing this just so that you can see. Here's the output flap. It typically is loose, like this. But if you have to remove it, you just bend it in the middle, and the pin will, and keep it biased to, the pin will leave its socket on the rear. You just flip it up, and out it comes. It's quite simple. This also is a CSRB part. One thing about the output flap, it does more than keep the rats out of the printer. On the back, there are a couple of features that help to reduce paper curl. So if you're printing on thin paper, and saturation, a photo on regular office paper, it can curl a bit. These help to flatten the paper. So if a customer was complaining about too much curl and they didn't have an output flap because, you know, they took it off or something, or it broke, because the printer will operate without it, it may be worth getting a new one of these. Next, we're going to remove the left door. It also is a CSRB part. Actually, I should say we'll remove the duplex module before we remove the door, the CSR part. You'll notice this one's got a bit of sludge on it. So this printer's done a few pages. Don't touch the sludge. It's pretty strong stuff. It's not dangerous. It just won't wash out very well. Okay, we're going to remove this left door. It's a CSRB part. First, you remove the two hangers, and that just rotates bottom outwards. It comes out very easily. And then we remove the door itself. There is a latch underneath the door, so what we'll do is we'll scoot the door to the edge, a bit further, and there's a latch under here. This latch is very hard to find first time around. Once you get used to it, it's easy. It's on the rear edge of the door. You just push the latch towards the rear, and the door comes out. So to put it back in, it just slots back in. You don't have to touch the latch at all. It just clicks in. So once again, there's a little latch on the bottom at the rear. You push it towards the rear, and the door just falls out. Once you get used to finding it, it is dead simple. But the first time, it'll put up a bit of a fight. All right. Those are the CSR and CSRB parts that we're going to remove. Next up, we're going to remove the back panel. Now, I've removed most of the screws from this product, and the reason for doing that is that I can talk about where they are and talk about what I'm doing rather than undoing the screws. But I've left sufficient in to make sure the product doesn't fall to pieces. So the rear cover, there's one screw holding it in. It's on the left corner here. The rest of the cover is held in by plastic latches that anchor into the other case parts. What that means is that you start where the screw is and just pull the cover out. It does make a noise. That's the nature of these plastic latches. So there's a set along the bottom and along the top, and they fit into features on the base of the printer and the other case parts. Don't be afraid of cracking noises. That's normal. Next up, we're going to remove the ADF and scanner assembly. So since we're replacing the print bar, we don't need to split these two up. There are two screws on the left-hand side of the ADF and scanner assembly. I've removed one. The other one is covered by a cosmetic cover, little nibblety thing. And all you do is you leverage it out with with your flathead, small flathead screwdriver. It's designed to make it look like there isn't a screw in there. And there's a torque screw under there, so we'll take that out. Okay. Next up, we're going to remove the flex cables. There are two or three flex cables, two out of the scanner, 3 in the main PCA. There's 2 black ones. We'll just thread them through the ferrite assembly here. And I've already unplugged them from the main PCA. And they control the scanner. And there's this white one here that's for the ADF, and I'll unplug it, and we'll feed it back through the ferrite assembly here. Now, the objective of the ferrite assemblies is so the product meets the RFI standards. And then you just get these out. There's just a couple of retention features, and you want to thread it through them. Okay. Next, there's a cosmetic cover under the right-hand side of the scanner. And this, in fact, biases the scanner towards the right, and so that it has it fits properly on its base. There's no screws in that, but you just put a screwdriver under it, and you just pull it out, and it just drops away. When you put it back in, you give it a bit of a thump, and you're good to go. Okay. Now, what that cover does is it biases the scanner towards the right. With it removed, we can bias the scanner towards the left, and then we just lift it off its base. We're now going to remove these 2 left-hand cheeks. There's a rear and a front. On the rear, there are 2 screws, and I've already removed them. There's one up here and one down there. Once you've removed the screws, it's a bit stiff, although this one's been removed so much it isn't so stiff, so you should use 2 hands, and then it just comes up. Comes up and out. Just a piece of plastic. Looks pretty. The front one has 1 screw down here, and it has a retention feature, plastic retention feature further up. And so you take that small flathead screwdriver, push the retention feature in, lift it up, and it falls away. And I'll show you the retention feature here. It's this thing here. Just try and get the right angle here. And it fits into the slot of the case part, so you got to push it down. Okay. Now we are going to remove the top case part. Before we can do that, we need the scanner brace. We have to take it off. There are 8 screws in the scanner brace. I've only left 2 in there, so I'll take them off. 2 isn't enough to support the scanner, as you can imagine. That's why you want a motorized driver, because it takes a while to get through 8 of these guys. And then you push it towards the left, and sometimes it can put up a fight. This one does. And this one seems to be getting more and more difficult to get off. There we go. It's a pretty hefty structure because it needs to support the printer's weight, and in fact, the printer's weight can't leave it out over the output area. All right, having removed that, we can then remove the top cover. Unfortunately, you have to remove the scanner assembly if you're going to replace the main PCA, because you have to remove the top cover to replace the main PCA. There are 5 screws in the top cover. There's 2 on the left side. There's 1 there. And I've already removed them. And 1 here. There is 2 along the top. One of them has an earth strap. Here and here. And there's one tricky little devil under the front panel, which I'm not going to take off, but you have to take these three screws out of the front panel, remove another screw, a fifth screw, and then you can screw the front panel back in. I didn't put it back in. All right. So we removed all those screws. Well, I talked about removing them. And now we need to remove the flex cable for the front panel and the USB cable as well as the speaker cable. So I already pulled the speaker cable out. And here's the USB cable. Now, in this particular case, if you're removing the whole lot as an assembly, you can just remove this whole ferrite assembly here. It's best to avoid flexing and unflexing flex cables as much as you can, because eventually they'll break. Now, to the front panel assembly on the 4.3-inch touchscreens is a zero insertion force socket that has a latch on it, and that latch rotates up, to remove it. And once you rotate that latch up, it just comes out. And I will remove the ferrite assembly. And this whole lot comes loose. One other feature I'd like to point out, the flex cables that go across the surface of the aerosol filter assembly, there's a black line on them. These match with little arrows on the aerosol assembly so that you know when you've got the cables in the right place. It's a bit hard to see because there is no contrast or limited contrast. And I've lost my pointer. Here we go. But they're on either side of the black line. These flex cables that go across here also have a adhesive on the back that sticks it to this assembly. Now, this adhesive is starting to wear off from overuse, but it can be a little bit stiff. Just pull it up. There are a couple of retention features on the top here, and you just pull that out, and now we have the cable out. The top case part also has a couple of retention features in the plastic that clip into the top cap. And so you have to move the top case part to the right to clear those features. Now, some printers that may be a little bit stiff, and you might have to give it a bit of a push. On this one, it's just a bit fiddly. Comes off. All right. Now, if you're going to replace the control panel, this is what you'd remove, and then the control panel, you'd simply remove this and take the whole control panel out. The control panel is a spare part. Unfortunately, it's not possible just to remove the control panel without removing this flex cable. The flex cable is kind of embedded in there and it's difficult to get, although someone with really small fingers may be able to do it. Now, proceeding, we're going to remove the front case part. There's one screw. It's similar to the rear case part. There's one screw right in the corner here. Remove that, and then just peel the front case part away. The ink access door, we made the hinge replaceable. So if the ink access door breaks off, you can replace the hinges and get it working again. And finally, we're going to remove the right-hand case part. There are 3 screws, and they're along the base here. One in front, one in the middle, and one in the rear. I've already removed them. And then this just lifts away. We're going to remove the cross brace. We're going to remove the top cap assembly. We'll remove the the service sled, and we'll remove the service sled advance. Now, for this cross brace, there are 4 screws, 2 in the front and 2 in the rear. I've already removed them. It's also held in by a couple of locating dowels, so it can sit there without the screws. Now, before I remove it, I'd like to point one thing out. This cross brace is higher in the back than it is at the front. The print bar supply guides are lower at the back than they are at the front. And the reason for that is that you want the ink to run downhill and you don't want to leave ink stranded in the cartridge. When you look at this, the thing looks out of alignment. It isn't. But as a consequence, because of potential confusion, we've labeled the cross brace with a front and a rear. If you want to make sure that the print bar is aligned correctly, you have to look down here at the actual print bar itself, because it should be flat. And I'll show you that later. So we're going to remove this cross brace. And we are going to keep it handy because we're going to use it later for the lift guide rods. And I'll describe that why later. All right. Now we're going to remove the service sled next. But the service sled right now is what's holding the print bar up. So we're going to use the first of our special tools, and we call this the print bar lift knob. There is a feature on the print bar lift shaft that extends through the front of the printer that fits this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to mount this onto the printer. So you want to line it up with the print bar pretty close and get it on here. And then the magnets just fasten it to the screws that proceed. Okay. So that prevents the print bar from dropping when we move the service sled. We are now going to use another special tool to move the service sled. Now here's the service sled drive shaft. And it also has an exposed end that you put the tool in. Now, on older printers, we don't have a cutout in the structure to allow you to get to that shaft. So if you have one of those older printers, you'll need to get a pair of cutters and cut a V in there, which is what I've done here. And then we put this in, and I'll just hold it here so you can get a look at it. All right, and it just goes here. It also uses a 1/4-inch nut driver. And we just rotate the service sled out. And just keep going until you reach the end of its travel. And pull it the rest of the way. So here is the service sled. Here's the cap assembly right here. And here's the web wipe material. And this service sled, this printer's probably got a few thousand pages on it, judging by the usage on the web wipe material. If it had 50, 60,000 pages on it, this would be on its second or third lap and would look quite black. That's normal. Okay. All right. Next part we're going to remove is web wipe advance assembly. It's just a small plastic assembly right there. It has one T10 screw in it. Be careful when you remove this particular screw. If it escapes and gets down into the body of the printer, it can be a little bit difficult to find and get out again. And it's a little tricky. There we go. So make sure that the screwdriver is well magnetized. And this just rotates up and drops down, wood if I got it right, and comes out. It's just a simple little assembly. And all it does is it makes the web wipe advance every time the service sled is driven in and out. All right, we're going to take a little aside here and just talk about the print bar again. So as I mentioned earlier, the print bar is shipped with a shipping cap, which also includes a cap that keeps the print bar healthy. But the shipping cap is too big to get into the printer. And so what we're going to do is remove it, and we'll replace it with this. This is part of the toolkit, and this is called a crash helmet. And it's a much simpler structure. It doesn't have any cap in it. And this front piece goes into two matching features on the front of the print bar. And I'm demonstrating it here because I'm going to put this onto the print bar that's in the printer, but you can't actually see it. So there are a couple of features at the top here that these fit in. and you just push down there, and it clips along in the back, and this is what it looks like. So, and you just lift up from the front. All right. So I'll do the same with the print bar that's in the printer. And the objective of this is that once you've got it on, if the print bar does fall to the bottom of the print zone or something like that, it won't be damaged. So you can't be too careful. So once again, I'm going to put this in here. You notice that these locating dowels are in the front or towards me. Put it under there and get under those retention features and just click it in. And it just holds into place. All right. Now that we've got that in there, we're going to use yet another one of the specialties. Well, I didn't put that in very well, did I? Let me do that again. I might be wearing. Well, if it falls out, you're going to have to put it back. Maybe I'll just be quick. This other tool here is called the service sled, and its prime function is to hold the print bar up as you move it out. It actually serves two purposes. The first is it prevents damage from the print bar from mishandling, and the second purpose is that when the print bar is being put back in, it ensures the print bar is aligned correctly, and that's quite important. So it just goes into the service sled location. And just push it all the way in until this feature at the top meets the print bar. And now the print bar is located correctly under the print bar. After that, you just remove the print bar knob, and the print bar will drop a little bit. And you'll see it drop. And now it's safe. Okay. Now we shall remove the print bar flex cables. There are 3 flex cables. There's a black and a white one, and these are both put in 0 insertion force sockets on the main PCA. These sockets are a little bit different from the front panel socket in that instead of rotating to release the tension, you have to pull it out, and it's a delicate operation. And there's a third flex cable that's a low insertion force, and it just comes out. I found that the small screwdriver, just leveraged under the ends, lifts the latch without breaking it. It's easy to break that latch. Now, on the print bar kit, we are going to supply two latches because you don't want to have to replace the main PCA just because the latch is broke. This white one, the second one, has already come out because I didn't put it in properly the last time. So just pretend I took it out okay. We just thread them up. And the third flex cable is a low insertion force flex, and it just unplugs. And we lift that up. And you have to remove it from the ferrites because we have to pass the flex cable through the rear wall. All right? And so now we're going to push the flex cable through the rear wall here. And you can see, and there's a retention feature that helps it, so you need to slowly get it out. That's where the flathead screwdriver is useful. All right. Flex cables. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the top cap assembly. It has 9 screws, and I've left 2 in just to demonstrate. There is a sensor mounted on the top cap assembly, this one here, and this is the output flap sensor. And let me get the output flap. I've buried the output flap, so I'll get it a little bit. But it makes and breaks a light beam through here, and this is how the system knows if the output flap is open or not. It's in a fairly vulnerable position, and sometimes the sensor can be bent. If it's just bent, and the customer keeps getting output jams, you may be able to bend it back. Sometimes it breaks, in which case it'll have to be replaced. And if you have to replace it, you have to take the top cap assembly off. It is connected via this little flex cable here. So we'll need to disconnect the flex cable and thread it through. And then I will take up the screws. As I said, there are 9 screws, except I only put 2 in. And then we'll lift the output, the top cap assembly, just off the product and just gently thread that flex cable through. This is a pretty solid piece of structure as well. All right, now in the final parts we have to remove. The print bar, when it goes up and down, slides along these 2 shafts, and these are called the print bar guide rods. It's important when you put them back that you put them back the same way they came in. So the one in the rear has to go in the rear, the one in the front has to go in the front. These rods are also pretty greasy. So what I would recommend is that you use this cross base that has a front and a rear on it, and you put the guide rods in it, front to front, rear to rear. And also, because of its structure, it prevents the grease from getting out and going places you don't want it. So I just put the front one on the front. I lift the rear one out of the rear, and we just leave that there. And then we just remove the print bar. It just slides out. You'll notice I didn't remove the supplies. You don't have to. Doing so makes the print bar a bit lighter, but you don't have to remove the supplies. Now we're going to stick the print bar back in. Carefully put the print bar back in. And once again, you just put this into the same guide that the service sled was in, and gently push it all the way back until it doesn't go back any further. You know you've got it in the right position when the ink supplies are centered on this cutout in the front wall. Once you've got the print bar back in, you then put the lift guide rods back, front to front, rear to rear, and it should just drop down. When you put these back, the lift guide rod should be level with the top of the front and rear walls. If they stand proud of the front and rear walls, you haven't got it in correctly. In that case, you can move the print bar a little bit to get it centered, or there might be another obstruction. You might have to take it out and see what's blocking it. Once you've got them in, then we put the top cap assembly back on, taking care to thread the output flap sensor cable. Now there are locating pins on this top cap assembly, so you know we've got it in the right spot. When you put it on, it should sit pretty level. Now it may be a millimeter or two because it's oops, there we go, because it's just some variation in structure. But it should, this corner or the rear should not be sitting up half an inch or 10 millimeters, because that means lift guide rods aren't in correctly. All right, we've got that in. We'll put our 2 screws back in. There are 9 in total. All right. So we've got that in, and then we connect this flex cable up. There we go. Look at that. Pretty. All right. So now we need to, because we need to remove the print bar dolly, we need to, seem to have lost my special tool here. Oh, there it is. Never mind. We need to support the print bar again and pull it off the print bar dolly. So we'll insert this back in. Same procedure as last time. And having fixed it on the end there, we rotate it counterclockwise to lift the print bar. In this case, you'll notice it does move up a little. And now we have the print bar supported by the print bar lift mechanism and the print bar knob, and we can just remove print bar dolly. We'll get the flex cable through the rear wall. And flathead screwdriver to help guide them. Taking care to put the retention feature back in. There we go, and now it's sitting nice and snug against the rear wall and the roof. Okay. Something I usually forget, but today I didn't. You need to remove the crash helmet. So it just drops away when you give it a little poke. Now we can reinstall the service sled. Now, it's very important when you install a print bar that you install it using the dolly. If you don't use the dolly, it's possible to get it racked, and then it's not level. And if the print bar isn't level, directly horizontal on the printer, bad things happen. It won't go up or down correctly. It won't print correctly. It'll make loud noises. The same is also true with the service sled. And to get it installed, you just get it in a position and push it gently. And we recommend you use your hands to get it started. And just push it until you get this face here parallel with the right case part. And it should be parallel. If it's parallel, then it's aligned correctly. And this one looks like it's aligned correctly. And once you get it like that, then you want to use the there it is, fell off, the service sled advance knob to advance that in. Use the knob as opposed to pushing it. Once it gets to the end of its travel, the service sled won't go any further, but a cam will be activated that raises the cap and caps the print bar. So you'll see as I go towards the end here, the print bar will raise up a bit, and you'll notice. All right, now the print bar is capped and locked. Okay, now we're going to put the service sled advance mechanism back. And it just slots in the way it came out. And we'll get our handy driver here. Actually, can you come around the other way? It's hard to see. You kind of have to go into this thing on the left. Taking care not to lose the screw. All right, we'll call that good. And then we'll install the cross brace. The rest of the print bar, I'll talk about the rest of it, I won't go any further. The rest of the installation is just a matter of putting the case parts and all the components we've taken off back in. In the instructions, we recommend you test the print bar installation before you put all the case parts back on. And the reason for that is that sometimes these flex cables are difficult to plug in. There isn't much clearance there. And you want to make sure it works, because if you've misplugged the flex cable, you want to take all the case parts back off to fix it. So you put the printer in special mode. It disables the calibrations and the shipping fluid purging and allows you to print a test page. That test page will be quite faint because the print bar currently is not initialized and is loaded with shipping fluid, and we just have a very small amount of dye in the shipping fluid. If you print, then you're good to go. You put all the case parts back on, and then you run through the initialization process. And you go into the engineering menu to do that. It's important that you have the case parts back on before you do a calibration. The BDD is an optical sensor, and if you have the case parts off, then stray light will get in and interfere with its operation.